ready, bud? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. All right.
You're supposed to use
Just need to be on.
You're supposed to use
Hello?
that.
Can everybody hear me?
No.
No? Okay. Was there... There you go. Did you go? Hello? All right. Much better.
That one works.
All right. My name is Grecs, and this is...
Pupstrr.
All right. So, he's my... how old are you now?
9.
Okay. So, I have 9 more years to use him as a research subject. So today what we're going to be talking about is something that I probably started about 2-3 years back. I was interested in seeing if my kids were interested in the security field, and it just turned into this big thing where I was looking for different games and out there that taught security concepts, and there's just tons of them, and it turned into this big process where I get a new game, I review it, I let the kids play it, and to see if they like it. If they don't, I do a blog post, and then trying to pull the best of the best together and present them in forums like this. So disclaimers, so the opinions expressed do not express the views or opinions of my employers, his schools, my customers, my wife, his mom, my daughter, his sister, my parents, his grandparents, my in-laws, and his other grandparents. So this is us on Twitter. I'm on the left, he's on the right. Loves to play Minecraft, which you'll see soon. I've been in the industry for about 20 years. I cut my teeth back in the early 2000s doing a little bit of web pen testing, or a little bit of web app testing as well as pen testing. For career reasons, jumped into doing more security engineering work. They found out that I could write some, so I got put into doing more FISMA type stuff. Is anyone familiar with FISMA? Okay, it's sort of the compliance process for the federal government. And then continuing on with that theme of writing, get pulled in periodically into writing proposals. But at that point, I was finding that I could theoretically design like the perfect security system, but theory and what you actually implement are two different things. So I took a step back, started working in more of an ops environment, doing things like trade studies, looking at a lot of the different products that are out there, if they can basically meet the requirements that the sales guys say they can meet. And then that kind of dovetailed into working into an operational SOC environment, and then also doing some IT training. Okay, you're doing it. Wow, I'm like, that's magic. And he has the clicker. I run this website. It's mainly focused around the Metro DC area, but it's kind of just become my home blog. So I write a lot of stuff there. What did you do? Okay, go back. All right. All right, so I recently trying to get into the security consulting field too. So looking at doing SOC type stuff. So if anyone's interested in doing that. All right, and this is the one transition which he insisted that we must have for his slide.
I'm in elementary school. I started early with chemo, went on to Mac OS X, and just recently installed my first Ubuntu system, and my favorite pastime is Minecraft.
Alright, so today, what we're going to cover is just a little background, talking about why I did this, or why we're doing this. Look at a selection of games that we've come across that I think are or that we think are the best that we found so far for reaching our goals. Talking about the KidHack project itself, and then also what's next, and then we're going to close up. Oh, all right. drive? Right, so the first thing is a lot of people like to use cats, and I'm a dog lover. We actually just got a new puppy, so I like to use dogs instead. So the background, we're just going to talk about why we did this, and then also the inspiration. Next slide. So first of all, it's for the kids. Next slide. So we read almost every other day. There's in the newspaper, there's various types of cyber attacks. Sometimes it's the nation states, which are very scary because they're really good. Other times they're criminal organizations, but even they are getting really good too. And this has led to a big demand for cybersecurity professionals. Started tracking a lot of this stuff back in 2009, but just ever since then, it just every week some big report comes out saying that there's this huge need for cybersecurity professionals. So in order to solve that problem, back in I think early 2000s, the NSA started tapping different schools of excellence. Universities have come up with degree programs. Both at the master's and at the bachelor's level. And there's also a lot of different certs, which we're familiar with. And then there's technical training organizations too, such as SANS and other groups like that. So, but what I was finding was that there's this gap between stuff that goes on at the university level and training after that. And what about the kids that are at the elementary school and the middle school level? So the goal here was to create something that could bridge that gap, and I called it preparing the next generation of information security professionals by simply getting them interested in early. So essentially we are strengthening the pipeline of talented folks that are going to be flowing into the field. That combined with my recent training roles, I've been looking at different ways to teach folks based on what I've seen by doing training combined with the age group that I was dealing with. It seemed like the best thing to do was to do simulation where you're actually doing stuff. And the easiest way to do that is with games. So the inspiration for this, ever since I got into security a long time back, capture the flags are always a big inspiration. I hope has anyone played in the capture the flag that's going on now here? Yeah, I mean that's one thing. Like I recommend doing that. That's like especially regardless of the level that you're at. Like if you're in middle school, high school, collegiate level, definitely try to get involved. And I know there's this school, their CCDC team, I think won the championship this year. So definitely, if you're at the college level right now, try to get into clubs like that because you can go through and get these cyber degrees. And although those degrees will teach you the basics, they really lack that hands-on experience. And so you can establish that foundation and then also get active with some of these CCDC type competitions, and that can really help you not only get that first job, but it'll definitely make you more effective in that job as well. So back in terms of the inspiration, so at DerbyCon in 2013, did anybody go that year? Has anyone gone to DerbyCon before? No, okay. It's a good conference. It's up in Kentucky. But anyway, there's a gentleman, Bruce Potter. He runs SpooCon, if anyone's heard of that. It happens up in DC. So Bruce Potter gave a talk that it's only a game, learning security through gaming. And I thought this was a great talk. There was a lot of great theoretical foundations there. But what I got out of it was, well, what can I do to take this theory and actually implement it? So looking for games that could help realize what he was talking about. And then there's a friend And there's tons of articles like this where they basically talk about the importance of participating in capture the flags. And so this is one that a friend of mine wrote. And then the other thing is, a few years ago, I didn't see the movie yet, but I read Ender's Game, and I liked. Don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to give anything away. But what I really liked was the simulation and training aspect of that, and trying to take those lessons learned and apply that. What can we do from a gaming perspective that would help the younger generation learn some basic security concepts. So these are some of the games that we're going to go through over on the left there. And once again, we have our obligatory puppy shot. Next. Okay, so the first one that I'm going to talk about is a game called Hacker. Has anyone played this before? Any old timers? I can't find it. So this is a card game. The history was in 1990, the Secret Service raided Steve Jackson Games, and they confiscated a bunch of equipment, including the Illuminati BBS. So in order to make fun of the whole situation, he actually made a game of it that was satirizing the Secret Service, hackers, and phone companies. So then that was in 92. In 93, Hacker 2 came out, called The Dark Side. This allowed you to play with more players, and it had some new rules too. In 2001, they released a deluxe edition which combined the original Hacker game as well as the Hacker 2 game. So the objective was that the players act as hackers. They compete against each other to control the most systems. So basically, you have cards, and you lay the card down to create a network. Whenever you capture the systems, you put tokens on those cards to indicate that they've been invaded. Now, I haven't played this game, so I really can't talk to it exactly, but it seemed like a cool game. It's up. The original version was from 3 to 6 players. It would usually last 90 minutes to 2.5 hours to play. Okay, so this is just a bit more information about Hacker 2. They introduced more security concepts like viruses, worms, out dials for those people that can remember the whole war dialing thing, and some other aspects to it. Next slide. So availability, unfortunately, it's out of print. I went to the Steve Jackson Games site, and he has a link that I have there to all the out-of-print games or sites that sell or that specialize in out-of-print games. I went through every site, and I could not find any of these games, so had a hard time finding it. I actually gave this talk the other day, and there was a gentleman in the audience saying that if you know the right folks, you can get the original Hacker and the Hacker 2 game, but the deluxe versions are very hard to come by. I did a quick write-up on it if people want to check that out. And kid review, so I actually, it was very hard to test this on my kids because, I didn't have a game to really play with. Right, so the next game was actually able to get this, but it's called Doxed. It's a card game / board, because you can, just like the Hacker game, you can lay the cards out and you flip them over to indicate that they've been hacked. It was inspired by the 2010 game Forbidden Island, and the nice thing about this is it focuses on both sides, both attack and as well as things that you can do from a defensive perspective too. And once again, like Hacker, the objective is to teach non-techies computer security. So just a little bit about this. So you and up to 3 other players take the role of a lead hacker syndicate infiltrating a network to reclaim valuable digital assets that have been stolen from them. Unfortunately, the network admins are responding by patching their compromised machines, raising alarms, and actually changing the network too. And the nice thing about this is it's a collaborative game, so all the players work together to defeat the network admins, in this case, to get their stolen data back. Next. All right, so is here fine? So here's a thing where you lay the cards out to create the network. So there's several types of cards, loot decks and patch decks. And then they have the infocon level for those that are in the military. They've probably heard of something like that. So there are various characters, and they each have special skills. So it's easier for them to do certain types of activities. This is kind of cool, the IDS systems, honeypot concepts. All right, so availability of this. The cool thing is this is something you can get off of GitHub. So you can go to GitHub, download it, and they have instructions there on how to print it out and set it up. Or the Game Crafter, which you'll hear me talk about a little later, for $25 you can get a box set. So we actually got that, we played that. Pupstrr, what did you think of it?
I thought it was a pretty fun game, and I liked how you all win together or you all lose together.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions on that game? Has anyone ever played it? Yeah. Well, it's free. You can just go download it and play it. It's fun. All right, next slide. All right, so the next one is one that you may have heard of, Control-Alt-Hack. Has anyone ever heard of that? Okay, a few. Has anyone played it? No one, okay. Okay, so this is another card game. So it's for three to six players, ages 14 plus. Takes about an hour to play. This was announced at DEF CON 2012, and you can get it off. You can just go over to Amazon.com and search for Control-Alt-Hack and download it. It was created by Tamara Denning, Mr. Kono, and Adam Shostak. And once again, the objective of this card game is to teach non-techies about computer security. So here is a tabletop game about white hat hacking. You and your fellow players work for a company called Hackers Inc. You use various skills that you have, social engineering or your knowledge of networks to do various consulting services such as security audits. So this is the video from Black Hat. It's about an hour long. I'm not going to play it, obviously, but there's a YouTube link there, and then also when I put the slides out, you'll be able to have quick access to it. Or you could probably just go to YouTube and just search for Control-Alt-Hack, Black Hat, and find it. So like I said, availability, just head over to Amazon.com and search for it. I did a write-up on it if you want to check that out. And the kid review.
I did not really like how it just kept on repeating and repeating, and you like match things up for each round.
Yeah, so this is, I thought, depending on the age group, I think it's a little maybe meant towards kids that are maybe a little older. So, but it's a game, so it's something that we're going to try in a few more years to see if the perception's changed. So, right, so this is the final card game before we get into the more fun games. But it is one called Hackers and Agents. I was at a small conference called SMUCon Epilogue a few years back, and a friend of mine, he goes by Wick, him and his two kids were playing this card game there, and so I sat down with them, and it was just a really fun game. So I finally got around to buying it. It was created by Jason Bevis, 2 to 8 players. They recommend 12 or age 12 plus. It usually takes less than 30 minutes to do one round, but this is very similar to Uno. So you play multiple rounds, and then whenever somebody gets so many points, then the game ends, and then the person with the lowest number of points is the winner. So in Uno, you would have terms like skip, draw two, reverse, wild cards. So what they actually do is they've changed some of those concepts where they have, instead of skip, they have encrypted. So there's the whole game itself, but then there are these side challenges too. And so in this case, one of the side challenges is that on the card there's encrypted text, and there's a basic key, and so the children get to just do some basic crypto analysis so that they can try to decode what's on the card. There's the draw two, which in this game is equivalent to logs. There's reverse, which in this game is the equivalent to lead. That allows you to either go, like you can go consecutively, or you can reverse it. It's up to you. And then the wild cards, this is where in this game, instead of having a wild card, they have SQL injection. The nice thing about this is on the card, they have actual SQL, kind of like your common example of SQL injection code. And so as a parent, you can kind of show this to your kid and talk them through it and what that actually means, or what the result of that type of SQL injection could be. They have the wild draw 4. So in Hackers and Agents, they call that the rootkit. And essentially this allows you to, what do?
Make the other person or the next person pick up 5, and you change the color.
Yeah, so instead of 4 cards, it's 5 cards, and you get to change the color as well. And there's some other, there's the hacker card, which, do you remember what that does?
You swap with the other, with the next person or whoever you want to. Same with the agents.
Yeah, so basically if you have 5 cards and somebody has 2, it allows you to swap cards. And then they also have number cards, and the challenge there, so this is just the number cards as they would be in Uno, and the challenge there is that they actually have the binary representation of the number on the card. So the parent can sit down and work with the children to try to understand binary notation. Next slide. So the storyline with this is that the world has been infiltrated with hackers who are out to steal your personal data if they can get their hands on it. The agents are well armed with forensic techniques and sworn to catch the cyberpunks. And so just like Uno, the philosophy is that you want to be the first to get rid of all your cards so that you don't end up with any points. After each round, people add up their points. Whenever the first person gets to 300 points, then the game ends and the person with the lowest score wins. So they also have this booster pack so that you can spend more money. But it does add additional concepts that you can learn from. Next slide. Great. So I said that I would mention the Game Crafter again. So this is where I'm going to mention it. So for $15, you can go to thegamecrafter.com and order this and get it shipped to you. So it's $9 for the Threat Booster Pack. So they also sell that. And like I said, there's just more rules, more security concepts that you can learn there. So I did a write-up on it and kid review.
It was a fun game, and I like Uno, so I liked hackers and agents.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so enough of the card games, right? So now we're going to get into the video games, or the digital device games here. So has anyone heard of the game called Pwn? No one? Okay. This was released in March of 2013. It's designed by a company called 82 Apps. So the objective of this, and this is available on multiple platforms, but we actually just used it on our iPhones, and you can use it on the iPads too. But you basically have a grid of, but it doesn't have to be a grid per se. It can be any shape, like a diamond or whatever, and then you have the nodes that make that up. And then you start out on one side and you're blue, right? Just getting back to the whole Star Wars stuff. You're blue and then the bad guy's red. So you start on opposite sides of the grid, and then your goal is to take over the grid and rid the grid of the red guy in this case. The nice thing too is, but you have various tools along the way that you can use, which we're going to talk about. So you have things like Trojans and viruses and spikes that you can use to both attack and defend your way through this grid. Next slide. So kind of the storyline here is it's a fast-paced computer hacking war against your cyberpunk rivals, like you were in a retro futuristic hacking movie. But like I said, there's things like viruses, there's backdoors, there's encrypted nodes, firewalls, just a lot of different basic security concepts that you can learn here. Play it. So in this case, you just kind of have your basic grid, but it's three-dimensional, so you can actually kind of turn it. You can have spheres. They have a lot of characters, and in most games, each character has the special ability to do certain things faster. You can play the computer directly, you can play against other people, or in this case, they have this whole tournament play. So this is a pretty fun game. I had this game for about a week, and I just could not get the hang of it at all. And then, pupstrr gets on it, and he literally beats it like that. I'm like, wow. So I learned a lot from him in terms of how to play this game. Next slide. So like I said, you can get it on iOS or on any iOS device for about $3. There's also a version for Mac, and I think there's an Android version now. I did a write-up on it, and what do you think of it, pupstrr?
I think it's probably my favorite game that we've done.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, next slide. All right, so the next game, Uplink. Has anyone played Uplink or heard of Uplink before? Okay. So you've played it or you just heard?
I think I played it at one point, but it was so long ago.
Okay, yeah.
I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, so the original version actually came out in 2001 for Windows and Linux. And then a few years later, they released it on Valve Steam and then on to Ubuntu. And then in 2012, they released the iOS version, which is when we came across it. So you're this hacker, and you go to this BBS board, and people post missions there, and based on what your skill level is, you can choose missions, and if you complete that mission, then you get so much money, and then you can use that to upgrade your security hacking tools or the speed of your link that you have to the network. So there's, while all that's going on, there's this backstory. Sort of reminds me of kind of like an X-Files thing where so as you're doing your missions, you get this email about a deceased Uplink agent, and then there's a whole sort of story going on about that, and you trying to figure that out. Were you able to get that far?
No, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really paying attention to the storyline. I was just kind of looking through stuff.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, that was the general idea.
I didn't get that.
Okay. Has anyone else played it?
I got that far.
You got that far?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Right.
Oh yeah, I only got to the second.
Pupstrr got that far.
I only got to the second one though.
Okay. So you got like the second email?
I got the second one.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so this is the storyline. So you play, or sort of like what I just talked about, you play an Uplink agent who makes a living by performing jobs for major corporations. Your tasks involve hacking into rival computer systems, stealing research data, sabotaging other companies, laundering money, erasing evidence, framing innocent people. Everything that you really want to teach your kids, right? So if you let your kids play this, please emphasize that this is not, it's a game, and if you do this in the real world, you will be put in jail, right? Next slide. All right, so this is a fun video, if anyone's seen it. It's kind of like a cool game concept where you're bouncing through multiple nodes, so it's harder to trace. And so you have different modules, like this one is a password cracking one. But you have to be very careful because you don't want to get detected too. Anyway, that's just kind of a fun video. Next slide. So like I said, you can get this on Windows and Linux systems, Ubuntu, just everything that I talked about on the first slide there. Unfortunately, they don't have an iPhone version, so if you want to do it on iOS, you need like an iPad. So it's $5. There's a link to it. There's also a version for the Mac if you want to check that out. And I think by now there's an Android version. And what's the kid review, pupstrr?
I did not like it as much as I liked some of the other games, because if you got traced down 2 times, then you can't use your account anymore. And I thought that wasn't fair.
Yeah, so you create your account and you log in, but if you get caught too many times, then they kind of cut your link, so you have to start over. So he didn't like that. All right, next. All right, so the next game, I think we're coming to the end here, or close to the end with all the different, or with the selection of games. So there's a nice site called Crypto Club. This was created by the University of Illinois, as well as some of the partners that they had in this. I have their original link, their original site, cryptoclub.math.uic.edu, and then they recently moved to cryptoclub.org. There's still some stuff that's on the old site that I guess they decided not to migrate to the new site, so I always give both here. Definitely start out at cryptoclub.org, but you may also want to step back and go to their old site to see if there's any other resources that you would find useful there. But basically, there are different courses that people can go through, or that the kids can go through to learn basic crypto concepts, and then they have games and challenges which allow them to apply what they learn in just doing basic crypto analysis. Next slide. So this is what it looks like, or this is what the new site looks like. And you can see kind of on the left side there, you can learn about what the ciphers are. There's challenges, games. You can see that. Anyway, so there's some other things there. Comics, math, and then there's also, like, if you look up at the top right, you can actually log in, and so you can store your things, or store your, or track your progress. And then there's a teacher part of this too. So a teacher of in a school could assign stuff here. Next slide. All right, so I'm not going to read this, but this is just more detail on what it covers. And what was the kid review, pupstrr?
It was a fun online game.
Okay. Did you memorize that?
No.
You practiced it. Okay, yeah. So it was pretty cool. I mean, I was surprised when I learned years ago. I never really was into crypto when I was real young, but learned the basic concepts, I think, in early college or whatever. But and he was going through and learning some of the basic crypto concepts, and then he was actually applying them, and I'm like, wow, this is, so I think he got a lot out of it. Now the theory is that I will, like if I'm on travel or whatever, I'll create like some cryptogram, and then I'll send it to him, and he has to decode it.
When my mom doesn't give it to me.
But his mom hasn't, like, I'll usually text him to mom, and then mom, I guess, never writes the challenge down, so. But it's a fun game, I really liked it. Or a fun website. And there's a lot of other websites out there like that. It seems like this is more, the Crypto Club site was more the cream of the crop, so it seemed to be the best one out there. But there's hundreds of sites out there that teach and allow you to apply basic crypto concepts. But this is a great one to start with. Next slide. So some other games and that we've looked at. There's the NSA Crypto Challenge, which was sort of like the Crypto Club site. So you like that, right? The NSA one?
Yeah.
And then just in terms of just focusing on programming, there's Vim Adventures. Has anyone ever played that? Yeah, so it's this Zelda-like game, and it's pretty cool. You can go through it, and it teaches you how to use VI or Vim. So I think it's up to about 13 levels now. It's a really fun game. I recommend just going to vimadventures.com, or you can search for it. It's fun. And does anybody know why we want to learn VI or Vim? What? So I heard somebody say it doesn't matter where you go. Well, at least on a Linux or Unix system, it's you will always have VI or Vim. Some other areas that we looked at, especially at a younger age, teaching just basic computer concepts, maybe some programming concepts. So from an operating system perspective, there's Chemo, which is great for young kids. I think he started it probably when, probably like about three years old. So that's a great operating system that you can start with. It teaches you about basic computer concepts, plenty of games and just fun things to learn from. At more of I would say elementary level, there's Edubuntu, so that's an educational distro based on Ubuntu. So same type things, but it's just geared towards kids that are a little older. From a programming perspective, there's Scratch, and Scratch seems to be the go-to language. The nice thing about that is you can go to the Scratch site now, and you don't even have to install any software on your computer. It's basically all, I don't know if it's Flash, but it's basically all built into the browser. So you've built a few things there, right?
Yeah.
Did you like Scratch?
Yeah. And Scratch, version 2.0 is online, but version 1.0 you have to download.
Yeah. So, and then there's a good book, which I think I mentioned a little further down, or at least I think it's on the next slide, where there's a good Scratch programming book. It gives them projects to work on, and they basically go through this whole book and they build this game. And it's great just teaching the basic programming constructs, loops, variables, counters, all that sort of basic stuff. Has anyone used Logo in terms of learning? Has anyone used Logo here? I haven't. I mean, that's from the research that we did. That seemed to be the second best or the second preferred one, but I haven't really had a chance to try it out. Conferences and presentations. There's a gentleman that I was talking to a little earlier. We were talking about, specifically Hack Kid. So that goes on. They either have one or two conferences per year. So those are fun conferences for kids to go to. I think it's in the age range. It's geared towards like some of the other ones that I have here. I think it's geared towards older children. You can probably take like a 4 or 5 year old to Hack Kid and they can get something out of it. Just fun projects. And then Hack for Kids, it actually starts at age 5, and they go up to, they say from age 5 to like 25, but I wouldn't consider a 25-year-old a kid. But the nice thing about this is it's, the kids present. It's, the parent goes, but the kids actually do all the presentations and run all the workshops as well. So there's DEF CON Kids, which now they're calling Roots Asylum. So if you go out to Vegas, there's this separate kid track that's away from the DEF CON activities. So they can have fun there. In terms of presentations, I've been tracking these. So at the time, he was 8 years old. There's a little kid, Ruben Paul. So he's been giving a presentation like this at several conferences. I actually saw this at the ISC Squared World Congress, but teaching kids cyber security. So he's a very polished kid. He's the CEO of his own company. He's produced several games. So definitely something to check out. And then by Reese, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, Goerlich. Is that how you say that?
You said you wouldn't try to pronounce
I know, I said I wouldn't try to pronounce it, and then I pronounced it. Thank you. But she gave a nice presentation I saw the recorded version from B-Sides Chicago called Minecraft Security. And she basically had these competitions with her dad. And so she learned some basic security concepts of how to defend yourself in Minecraft. So things like defense in depth, honeypots, just general security concepts like that. It's like a 15-minute video, so it's a fun watch. Next slide. So just some other resources here, books, podcasts, and blogs. So there's an event with python.com, has some free resources. Probably the one most relevant to this audience is there's hacking secret ciphers with Python. And then they have some other ones that are game related, so maybe as kids that are a little older learn the basics of Python, these are some other books that they can follow to learn more about Python. There's Super Scratch Programming Adventure, which is the one that I was talking about on the previous slide. So that's a great book to start out with. I mean, it's pretty simple because you basically create an account on this website, log into it, and then you have this book and you just sort of follow through the book. So it's a fun site. There's also Python for Kids. And then podcasts, I haven't really found that much. I know if anybody knows Rob Fuller, or he's known as Mubix, he did one episode a few months back called Hacker Tykes, and it was, so him and his two kids basically, and it was a really fun podcast, but he hasn't put anything out, so maybe we should all, on Twitters, we can tweet at Mubix saying, hey, when's the next Hacker Tykes podcast going to come out? So can encourage him there. Curriculums and competitions. This is geared maybe a little later. I was talking with a few folks here about Cyber Patriot. It's geared mainly at the high school level. They do have some programs at the middle school level, and they're talking about doing something at the elementary school level. So basically they form teams and there's competitions in doing cyber type stuff. There's Cyber Aces, which is, I think it's associated with SANS, and they have modules for online learning, and then there's challenges associated with it. There's Hacker High School, which is a curriculum that somebody put together, just really good resource, learning all the basics, like a great security foundation, about different operating systems, and the capabilities and the commands that you need so that you can do analysis or cyber security work. So you're learning things. So the Windows and all the net commands and all the cool Linux commands that you can use too. So definitely recommend checking that out. There's also the CyberQuest challenges, which are geared towards high school and college students. And those come out once or twice a year. I think if you go to cyberquest.com, or not .com, just search on CyberQuest, they just released their April challenge, and they only happen twice per year, and I think you have to register by, April 20th, but you definitely want to check that out because you can go in there and you register for it, you download artifacts, you do your analysis on those artifacts, and then you submit them, and then they rank folks. And if you're, I did it just because it's fun, but they actually, for students, they have or for the top performing students, they have a camp that everybody can go to as well. And then at the collegiate level, there's obviously things like CCDC. So, and like I was saying earlier, there's some younger folks here, definitely if you want to get into the cybersecurity career field, going through college, you can get a cyber degree per se, but getting involved with the CCDC teams will, just offer you experiences that you will never get just going through a traditional degree program. So where does this all come to? So basically, you have this KidHack project, and it's, over the past 2 to 3 years, been slowly putting it together, finding new games, reviewing them, testing them out with pupstrr and his sister, and seeing what they like, and writing about them, and just sort of cataloging them all on this page. Next slide. Oh, go back one slide. Right, so the general way that I'm breaking things down here is I have the general categories of how I'm putting them out. So we have games, computers and programming, conferences, presentations, books, podcasts, and blogs, and curriculums and competitions. So those are the areas that I'm breaking things down into currently. So what's next? And there's my puppy picture. Thanks. All right. So one of the things I wanted to do is, I've done all this research, and they're all kind of just put on this webpage. But I wanted to put together something that would help parents say, all right, well, my kid's this old, what can I do? And so this is, I guess, draft one. I actually just publicly released this yesterday at B-Sides Charmsec. Well, I wouldn't say I publicly released it. It's the first time I showed it, but but maybe somebody took a picture and they published it on Twitter. And so basically those 5 categories that I talked about, and I tried to break them down by age group, and just have this overall layout there. So I'm trying to get this as filled up as possible. And I think I'm gonna take this grid and I'm gonna put it on the Hack Kid project page with links to all the different blog posts that we've written out. The scary thing is there's a lot of things here that I haven't even looked at yet. So there's still every other day somebody sends me, oh, check out this game, check out that game. And then even since you read about all the hacking in the news now, game developers for the iOS, you go into the App Store and you type hacker and there's all these games, but I haven't really, I haven't found too many good ones that would teach the concepts that you need to lay that foundation, which is the goal of this project. Excellent. So some other stuff is, maybe doing some sort of an effectiveness survey. Still trying to figure out how I would do this, but just have a survey where you're trying to get just general demographic information, get their prior cyber experience, other games they've played, school programs that they've been involved in, and then really focus in on each game, the time spent playing that game and trying to rank what they got out of that game, from general, hey, was this fun, would you play again, to maybe figuring out how much knowledge they've gained in some of the basic security concepts, such as firewalls, encryption, malware, what all those things mean, and just sort of putting this all together so that we can do more. I wouldn't call it scientific per se, but do more of a scientific-ish type study of all these games in the age groups that they're most appropriate for. So I'll also, like I said, I'm always finding new games, reviewing them, blogging about them, trying to add them to the KidHack project. I'm always looking for contributions, so you can go on the KidHack page, which is, I just have a short bit.ly link there. It's KidHack if you want to get to it quick, and you can add suggestions there with comments, or if you have a comment on a specific game, and I'll try to integrate those comments with attribution up to where we talk about the games. And then I also have the Contact Us form, so NISP, because the site used to be Nova InfoSec Portal, so that's where NISP came from, contact, so you can go there, or you can go to novainfosec.com and click the Contact Us button and fill out that form too. Or if you want to reach me directly, and I usually don't put my email on the slides, but it's just grecs, GRECS, at novainfosec.com. So basically that's what we have in terms of all the content. This is what we covered. So we have the Twitter, my Twitter, and his Twitter, which he doesn't have the password to because he's not allowed to. The website and the contact thing, if you have any questions about this, or if you're interested in talking to me about doing any consulting type activities, just let me know. Are there any questions? Yes?
Yeah, you mentioned Scratch. Have you heard of the MIT App Inventor? It's similar to Scratch, but it started off as a cool project. MIT supports it now. It's similar to Scratch, but you actually have access to the Android API.
Okay.
So you can accelerometers, a camera, and everything.
So it's App Inventor?
MIT App Inventor.
So the MIT App Inventor, no, I haven't checked that out, but that's something. So yeah, I'll definitely check that out. So it's for developing apps on Android.
Right, with the Scratch-like interface. It uses a lot of the same, I think a lot of the parts of that project carried over.
Okay, cool. Any other questions?
I was just going to say something similar to, of course, I think probably everyone knows Code Academy.
Code Academy, yes.
Yeah, they've added a lot of different APIs that you can also work with in different languages as well.
Is that the 1 hour code thing? Are they associated with that?
I don't know.
Okay. So she mentioned Code Academy, so that's a good place to start out. So that's good. Now I have to remember. He has a better memory than I do, right? So remember Code Academy. Okay. An app inventor, right? Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. All right, yeah. So, shoot.
Why did you do that?
I don't know. Here, get it going.
Stupid.
All right, this is the funniest. And you have to go all the way down.
I'll do it.
Oh, well, you have to go through that again.
I don't care. I don't care.
All right.
Whee. Oops.
All right. Oh.
I know what to do.